In looking at objectivism and getting a better sense of that idea of morality, what it is to be moral, we kind of know what we're looking for. When we're looking at the environment of ethics, someone acting, John is acting in such a way that affects Fred. All right. What is going to make, how do we find this ethics? What is right? This is what we call the classifications. All right. If you look at historically what's going on, okay, in the world, there are three things that's happening. There's the doer. We call the doer the moral agent. Not that you're a moral person, but we're going to judge you as moral or immoral. So the moral agent means the one who's actually acting. And then you look at the act itself, what the person did. And that act can be ethical or unethical, moral or immoral, depending on the justification. Okay. And then whatever you do, there is a consequence, the effects of the act. Okay. And that consequence can be good or bad. Okay. And so when we make a judgment of morality, we're looking at one of these three areas: the person, the act itself, or the consequences of that particular act. All right. So when we say classifying moral theories or justifying a moral value, moral principle, what makes being honest good thing? It may be the effect, the consequence it has on people that's involved. Okay. Or you may say it's about you. It makes you a more refined individual. It's a quality that makes you a better human being. There's different ways to come to saying something is ethical or moral. Okay. The classification means we're going to look at several theories, and those theories rely on different aspects of this trilogy. All right. Some philosophers argue, the first initial philosophers argue that true morality should be based on the individual person. Virtue ethics means excellence. That is, to be an ethical person makes you a better human being. You can have the virtue of high IQ, you can have the virtue of natural beauty, and you can acquire the ethical virtues. Okay, some of these philosophers are going to argue you're born like an animal, but you acquire the virtue of being an ethical person. You're a good person. When you who are listening to this video say someone is good, you're often using this concept here. All right. The person is good. You're using virtue ethics to describe that. There are good people in the world. Okay. There are good people in the world. This is called an agent-based moral theory. All right. Or agent-based moral principle, or an agent-based way to determine something is right or wrong. Right. It's who you are that makes the act right or wrong, not the act itself. Some philosophers, and maybe history may be supporting them, will argue that whether a person is good or bad, there are certain acts in the world that should never, never occur. That is, if you do them, it's wrong. And some acts should occur because that act is fundamentally good. And these are deontologists. Deontologists are act-based. They think there are good acts in the world, like truth telling. Truth telling is good. Doesn't matter who you are, you should be telling the truth. Okay? Lying is bad. Doesn't matter who you are, you should be not lying. In fact, the argument is if you truly are a good person, okay, you got the virtue of ethics, you're a good person, then you be doing the correct acts. Okay? And this is true. The virtuous, moral person, ethical person is going to be doing the right thing. The ontologists say, well, if that's the case, maybe I can figure out what those right things are. And if someone is corrupt on the inside, for example, they are morally unethical, immoral. Okay, they're vicious, not virtuous, but vicious. Okay, those individuals can approach morality by doing those things that we give them, this list of activities that they should engage in. Right, deontology. um, but following rules for some people, okay, just to follow the rule. Like there are situations in which telling the truth rather than being silent, for example, could actually harm a lot of people. Like if you're a government leader and you have certain secrets and you just go and blab it out there, you can hurt a lot of people. You can devastate a lot of lives. So although truth telling may be good, truth telling in all circumstances cannot be good. because the harm truth can bring to people. Now we get into a little advanced ethics, but we need to do that to bring out the classification. Truth is value. If you are truthful, you have the habit of telling the truth. And then you have the virtue of truth telling, we would say. All right. But that virtue doesn't mean you're always telling the truth. Some people misinterpret deontology saying that you should always tell the truth. That's not what it's saying. Real deontology is look at the circumstance, look at the situation. And if you say it says something very sophisticated, if you can understand the situation very clearly, you'll see when you need to tell the truth. Okay, certain circumstances you must tell the truth. Other times you need to be silent. You don't need to necessarily lie, you just need to be silent. Okay. Consequentialism says, hey, let's resolve this problem of being an absolutist, always telling the truth, always keeping your promise, by looking at the consequence. The real reason why people are ethical, because it's beneficial to people. As a consequence, people don't want you to lie. They don't want you to steal from them. They don't want you to mistreat them in any way because it's hurtful. Okay. So people are looking for the consequences of your behavior. So if your truth is about to hurt them, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. If they want to hear, they'll ask you for it. So let's measure the effects of the consequence of the act to determine what's right and what is wrong. So we're going to look at 6 theories of morality. All of these theories can come under this category. You out there, as you listen to me, you have a moral view, okay? And all of you will have a sense of all of these, although you not use this vocabulary, but I need you to use this vocabulary going forward, okay? Many people understand good and bad in the world, although they can't, good and bad people in the world, although they can't put names on it. And certainly everyone understands the idea of deontology, that there's some absolutes, okay? You just can't arbitrarily shoot somebody, okay, and think it's okay. That just does not work. You can't arbitrarily lie to all your friends and think it's okay. They understand the concept of deontology that from the outside, we will not be able to tell your virtues, but when you start acting, we can certainly judge you then, all right? We can certainly judge you then. So we learned the classifications and to classify all our theories. And I can say right now, we're going to look at 6 theories. 3 of them are virtue ethics. We're going to have Socrates' theory of morality, Aristotle's theory of morality, and David Hume's theory of morality as virtue ethics theories. We're going to have the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who's a deontologist. Kant's going to argue and try to convince you that this is the way to select those acts that are absolute, okay? Consequentialism is going to be presented by two theories, John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism, and ethical egoism, which is a philosophy of ethics in which you put yourself first in order to get to the moral truth, okay? So we're going to have 6 theories here that actually illustrate this classification. Understand the classification of a theory, know the ultimate goal of that view, okay? Some are going to focus on the person, some are going to focus on the act, and some are going to focus on the consequences themselves.